You guys better get your popcorn ready because these week 3 power rankings, no one's going to agree with me here. Starting off with the number 10 team, we're going to get right into it. The Minnesota Vikings are my number 10 team this week. Now, of course, they are 2-0. They beat the 49ers last week and they beat the Giants in week 1. So take it with a grain of salt against the Giants, but they beat a pretty good 49ers team. Now, granted, they didn't have Christian McCaffrey. Deebo Samuel ended up coming out early in the game. I think or middle, halftime or something like that. But, Sam Darnold had a good game, 268 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. Ty Chandler had 82 yards on 10 attempts. Aaron Jones was kind of irrelevant in the running game, but when it came to their defense, they made some freaking stops. They had 6 total sacks against the 49ers offensive line. And now granted, again, Trent Williams was not playing, but still 6 sacks in any game is really good. And they also picked off Brock Purdy once. So it's like, they freaking deserve to be in this top 10. Now granted, again, I keep saying granted because take things with a grain of salt. They're 2-0. They put up really good games against, again, the 49ers and the Giants. So they deserve to be in the top 10 at least for now. And yeah, this might get a lot of heat, that's for sure. Now I know this one's going to get a lot of heat because this number 9 team, it doesn't make sense that they're ahead of a 2-0 team. The Baltimore Ravens are my number 9 team. They are currently 0-2. They lost against the Raiders and the Chiefs. The Chiefs one was a really close game, of course. We already recapped that last week. But the Raiders, they kind of just blew this one up. They were winning by 10 points in the 4th quarter. They just completely blew it. And they, got rid of, I don't even know what happened with the Ravens, honestly. I mean, Lamar Jackson didn't have that bad of a game. He had 247 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. The run game wasn't too bad with Derrick Henry, but their defense, they didn't do bad either. They had 5 sacks and an interception. They gave up 26 points against the Raiders, but the Ravens just kind of fell apart in the 4th quarter. Of course, like I just said earlier, that they're winning by 10 points going into the 4th quarter. Playing at home against the Raiders is a big deal because they lost to the Raiders and they were my number 2 team last week. Now they're number 9. And like I said, I have my number 9 team. They're 0-2 and the Vikings are 2-0. Just, we all know that the Ravens are overall a better roster. Now, granted, things could change this year. If they get smoked by the Cowboys, the Ravens do, they're going to be completely off this list or whatever. But, we're still kind of basing off of last year a little bit. The first 2 games is still early in the season now. So it's like, I know they're 0-2. I know the Vikings are 2-0. I get that. But the Ravens are just overall still a better team than the Vikings. So Ravens number 9. The number 8 team in my power rankings for week number 3 is the Philadelphia Eagles. Man, did they freaking blow that game against the Falcons. Jalen Hurts went for 23 for 30, 183 yards, a touchdown, and an interception. He also had 85 yards on the ground with 1 touchdown. Saquon Barkley had still a really good overall game. Now, we all know that last minute of the game where Saquon Barkley dropped that first down, that would have sealed the game and the Eagles would be 2-0. But things happen for a reason, and now they are currently 1-1. And it's not because of Saquon Barkley either. He did really good this game too. And honestly, if I had to be honest, they still kicked a field goal. They're still up by 6 points. Guess what? Their defense blew it again. They let Kirk Cousins go right down the field. Kirk Cousins had 241 yards, 2 touchdowns. The Eagles defense had no turnovers and only 1 sack against a banged up freaking Kirk Cousins. You couldn't even move. He literally looks like a statue out there. I feel so bad for him. But anyways, the Eagles still gave up a touchdown in literally 59 seconds. So yeah, that was a big blow. They dropped down 2 spots and they're number 8 this week. We got a new addition to the power rankings this week for week number 3. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers are my number 7 team. They beat the Commanders in week 1. They just put up a really good game against the Detroit Lions, of course, last week, and Detroit too. And we all know that Detroit's really good at home. So I thought this was a really good win by the Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield had 185 yards. He had a touchdown and interception, and the run game was really non-existent. But, Chris Godwin also had a really good game. The defense showed up whenever it mattered. Going into Detroit and only giving up 16 points against the Lions, and their Lions are also known for their great offensive line, great run game. They're a great offense, period. But the Buccaneers definitely deserve to be in the top 10, just like the Vikings. And I thought that as of right now, the Bucs are, better than the Ravens, of course. At least because, obviously they're 2-0. I just had that whole shenanigan a few minutes ago. But I really do like the Bucks this year. They're looking really good. They're blowing out people. Well, they blew out the Commanders, and they put up a really good game against the Lions. So, yeah, the Buccaneers are number 7. Another new addition to this week's power rankings for number 6 team is the New Orleans Saints, and they definitely deserve to be up here for sure. Coming into the season, I wasn't really too high on the Saints. I also had in my predictions before the season started, they're going to be like a 500 team, but as of right now, they are completely proving me wrong. They already scored 40 points this year in both of their games, and scoring 40 points, period, I don't care who you're playing against, is really, really hard, and I know they play the Panthers, but still, really, really hard, and they go into Dallas and put up another 40 burger. I mean, their first 15 drives this year all ended up in scoring position or scoring drives, which is really, really hard. Derek Carr is playing really good. Alvin Kamara is playing really good. This Saints team is just blowing freaking smokes. And again, they went into Dallas, where Dallas just came and won against, they won in week 1 really comfortably. And then they come back home and they just completely crap the bed. The Saints are definitely deserving to be in this spot, number 6. As of right now, they really deserve it. So, number 6 for the Saints. The number 5 team, they dropped down a couple of spots from last week, is the San Francisco 49ers. And a lot of people probably question this now because, of course, Christian McCaffrey just got on the IR not too long ago. They just got Deebo Samuel out for at least a couple of weeks. Trent Williams is still MIA, even though he signed his new deal or whatever. Not the Vikings, I'm sorry. The 49ers are just in a weird spot because they're still 1-1. They're still a really good team. They just lost to the Vikings. And I just don't know exactly where to put them, honestly. So I thought the number 5 spot was really good for them. Of course, we all know their defense is still really good. They got Fred Warner, Nick Bosa. Their team's overall good. Now, their last couple of weeks were they beat the Jets in week 1, and of course, they just lost against the Vikings in week 2. But who knows? The Vikings might be really good this year. We just don't know because it's still too early. But, for now, I got them number 5. I just don't know really, where to put them with the other people or the other teams, So I think the number 5 spot for the 49ers is pretty good. Staying with the number 4 team is the Detroit Lions. And, of course, we just talked about the Bucks game against the Lions. The Lions just lost to the Bucks. But who knows? The Bucks might be really good this year. I still really like the Lions this year. I don't think they're going to be a bad team at all whatsoever. Their roster is just too damn good. But, they had a little funky game against the Buccaneers. But again, who knows? The Buccaneers might be really, really good this year. They had a really good game against the Rams in week 1. It was a banged-up Rams team, but they're still a good team. I know the Rams are also 0-2, but Sean McVay is still, a whole different breed of a coach. But long story short, the Lions are in a little funk right now. I think they're going to snap out of it. I still think they're going to be a top 5 team all year for sure, and that's why they're my number 4. The number 3 team jumping up 5 spots is the Buffalo Bills. I have no clue why I am so high on the Buffalo Bills, but I just really like them this year. Week 1, they had a really close game against the Cardinals, which they were losing by like 18, 19 points or something like that, and they came all the way back. And then Dolphins game, they had the game the whole entire game, even with Tua, still playing. They were completely smacking the Dolphins. But the Bills, I had them getting 11 to 12 wins this year, and I thought I was kind of going crazy with that. But now they're already 2-0. They're looking really good, and the offense isn't, the offense looking good. They're not scoring enough points, even though they just scored 31, but mainly because of the freaking defense. But the defense is balling out this year. I really like what the Bills are going, what they're doing. I like them. I don't know when. I just think they're really good this year, and I got them as the number 3 team. The number 2 team in my power rankings, they jumped up 3 spots from last week, is the Houston Texans, and you guys know I really do like this team a lot. I've talked about them a lot this year, and I think the number 2 spot is perfect for them. They beat the Colts in week 1. They just had a really good game against a very good Bears defense, scoring 19 points, and CJ Stroud had a really good game. The run game was kind of non-existent, but then again, this Bears defense is no freaking joke. It's just on how bad their freaking offense is. Like I was just telling you guys a second ago, I really like the Texans team this year. The Stephon Diggs, Danielle Hunter. Like, this team is just completely stacked. And I think they're going to be easily a top 5 team, just like the Lions all freaking year. And if you guys don't know, the Chiefs are number 1, and They're 2-0. They're 2-0. They're winning the games, and they just beat the Bengals by 1 point, a game-winning field goal last second. But man, these refs are getting a little ridiculous for them. Patrick Mahomes wasn't too hot. He had 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Isaiah had a nice little game, and it's unfortunate for them that now he's going to be out for at least 5 to 6 weeks, minimum. In their receiving game, Rashee Rice had a nice little game, but the Chiefs, they're just so weird because they had a really good game against the Ravens. Well, I mean, it was literally an inch away from being a tie game in the last seconds of the game. And then the Bengals, almost beat them. The Bengals should have beaten them, if I had to be honest, but the refs are just going to be the refs for the Chiefs. But again, I said it in my other videos, the Chiefs are going to be the #1 in the power rankings until proven otherwise. But that wraps up this video. I know you guys do not agree with me 100%, so leave a comment down below your biggest reaction. I want to see your guys' opinions on everything. But I'm out here. Deuces.